Hello, hello. It says we're live.
Okay, hi.
Yep, we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Misscoolala's Mystical Musings, and I want to say thank you for being here today. I have something a little bit different than what I normally do, and a special guest. I would like to welcome Angela
Hi.
from Big Crone Energy.
Hi everyone. I can't see the chat, so Carla's gonna guide me through all that. But I love being here and hi Debbie. Oh awesome.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, Carla and I were talking somewhere else and I brought up that I love this topic and asked to kind of join in and she's allowed me to, so I appreciate that.
I am grateful to have you here. Um, do you want to tell people a little bit about what it is that you do
Um
outside of YouTube?
yeah. So I am a social worker in general. I worked for the state of Missouri for several years. I started out working with delinquent males, trying to rehabilitate them. Then went to what we call Children's Division or CPS. Worked with families to reunify kids in foster care. And very trauma informed, kind of like where my realization that a lot of this is generational, and if we heal, if we stop it at one generation, then the love can flow up instead of being kind of like cricket. So and then just personal experience, of course, too. My mom, part of the reason why I became a social worker is my mom was had a horrible childhood, and she definitely has those scars. She's a generation that never got therapy, never self-reflected. Um, and so kind of led me under that field. I definitely think it's my wheelhouse, and I think that I also think how it goes into tarot and stuff like that is it helps to be very intuitive in that line of work.
Mm.
Read other people's emotions, kind of feel the room, feel energies. Of course, the downside of that is I have to be able to protect myself and not absorb those energies and stuff. So it's not always easy, but anyway. So professionally, definitely the ancestral trauma, generational trauma, I see, and personally. So
I love that. And I can't imagine, I mean, I can from my own personal experiences that has to be a very, on one hand, rewarding, but on another side of it, it could be traumatic for yourself even, right?
yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is, I did about for 2 years, I investigated elderly and disability abuse. And what I'm learning, speaking of generationally, is, I am Gen X, I think I'm Gen X. So, we were the neglected ones, right? We were, when the sun
Yeah.
comes up, we go outside, the sun goes down, we come back inside. We didn't have the technology, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. Most of our parents had to both work, or we came from broken homes.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Yeah.
my uh, thoughts on that is that so we raised our children. We were a little bit more of a helicopter parent, right? So we did everything for our kids. We made sure that we were there for them. We made sure they felt loved. We made sure and we also through the process society has brought up the whole you know boundary thing, right? So toxicity, you could cut somebody out. Generations ago, if you had a narcissistic parent who was elderly and demented, you still took care of them. But in that 2 years that I worked investigating abuse and neglect of elderly folks, was a lot of them they're so lonely. It's an epidemic of loneliness they were, because of their traumas, negative people. And current generations, for good or for bad, are like, I don't have to do that. I do think it's good to have healthy boundaries and say, um, I'm going to cut you off. I'm not going to take care of you. I don't have to take care of you. You're a nasty person. But then as a society, who takes care of them then? Because, everyone has value. So anyway, that's my other thing. So I've seen it from the children's side, with working with children's division. And I've seen it with the elderly where just that never healing those generations, you're left lonely. And even my children's father, I mean, he's going to, they want nothing to do with him because of the trauma he inflicted and not working through it. So
I
again, it
get
just
it.
comes back to that professional and personal.
Absolutely. Amber said that she's very inspired by the line of work that you're
Oh,
doing.
thank you.
And I think she's actually
Mm-hmm.
a student herself working towards something like that, which is amazing because
Mm-hmm.
children are our future.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want to catch some of this real quick. I'm on my phone, so the comments things are a little bit different than I can just click on it with my computer. So Debbie says, I think that it is a common issue with our parents in that generation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
me too. Me too. Um, Gen X rocks.
Heck yeah.
Yes, ma'am, it does. And Amber says, you must see so many patterns and cycles repeating in family systems.
Mm-hmm.
Truly a perspective and insight that leads to generational trauma healing through ancestor work, and love this connection. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps because yes, we were talking about that before we went live. It's like if you go to a therapist, usually the type of like when they add tarot or oracle, it's as a guide. It's a reference where we know how to, or should I say, I'm sure they do too, but I don't think they do that so much in the practice as allowing the higher self, which is a very spiritual thing, to guide you to that tarot to say, well, this is what I really want you to see today.
Mm.
Whereas they're just using it kind of like archetyping and all that, at least to my knowledge. I don't know of any therapists that actually use it for divination. But we get to, and it is so freaking amazing for that.
And I think it's empowering. I know it is for me. As I go down this journey, I I think about all the wounds the wounds I have healed in myself to make me a better person for my children. Heck yeah,
Mhm.
Gen X. Um, and but it's a long road. So, um,
Yes, yes. Let's see. We got absolutely. That was my main job, was to raise four good humans. Anything over that will be a bonus in this incarnation.
mm-hmm.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Debbie. Yeah. Yes, yes. So, well, I was thinking that I would kind of let you guide us today then. Um, because really, I mean, tarot for me is just like find a good spread, maybe a daily spread or something, if I think I need some guidance. um so I think maybe I'll let you lead us in how you would connect with tarot
Okay.
for that.
Okay. So, I know I've talked a lot on my channel about using like the death doula. Um, I mean, you can do this with any deck. I tend to like kind of creepy darker decks. Um, so this is meant to. Oh,
My old therapist would let me bring cards and at the end of each session reflect and give me something to think about or focus on until next time. It's not common, but some therapists are cool with it. That would be the therapist I want to go to.
yeah, exactly. So, and of course the circle of doors.
Thanks.
So, oh hi, welcome. So what I would normally do is I would take this is to me is I usually like to take when I'm doing any kind of shadow work for like inner trauma stuff is take a light and a dark, right? So I will take a deck that I would consider more of a lot on the light side. So I would take one of these cards. So, so I got, always has words I can't say. Calcination, Calcination, calcination.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, really. And so in that aspect, I would read the book, because with oracles, you kind of have to, right?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then it says purge, remove mental and physical clutter. So I guess I would see this as telling me, okay, there's something, I'm getting close to purging something. Like what? So I would particularly I use an oracle as kind of the gateway, instead of tarot, just because it gives a theme. So
Right.
what theme do I need to work on? What is on the horizon right now? Sometimes if I know it's something, when I was working on shame a while back, I used, let's see, where did I put it? So like for shame work, I used, this is a great one, Wild Things, Wisdom of the Wild Things Oracle.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually like heard that it's was kind of made for when you feel shameful, and that's the thing, is Carla and I were talking before. I have a lot. I always thought I had a lot of guilt. This part I didn't share with Carla, but we were talking about the feeling of shame because of that trauma and stuff, and passing it on and whatnot. I always thought it was mom guilt. Hi, Jess. Um, and it
Oh,
is guilt, but there's shame to it too, right? There's shame that I couldn't heal myself enough to not pass it on to my children. And I was sharing with Carla that my oldest son definitely bears those traumas, that generational or ancestral trauma. Um, Alcoholism runs heavy through the line. Whereas my younger son, where I was older and wiser and more like attuned to wanting to be clear up my karma kind of thing, he he's well more, nobody's perfect, but he's well more adjusted, right? So and so now I'm kind of feeling like I'm catching up, trying to rebuild that bond with my oldest son, to be the mom that I wasn't because of my own traumas that I ignored and therefore kind of neglected him. We were talking about in the we did a thing last night together, Carla and I, and she has a new deck that is coming out that's awesome. And one of the cards was parentification. And looking back, I didn't realize I was parentifying him, but I very much did.
oh
He
goodness.
was a quiet child. He was an obedient child. He was the oldest. And it was more of it wasn't obvious to me until now. We've had conversations where he's like, yeah, he still feels like he needs to take care of his little brothers, particularly the one. um I have two that are 21 months apart, and then my youngest is 4 years, so 6 years from him and 4 years from the other. So he was getting his little brother, the one closest to him, his cereal, because I didn't want to get out of bed because I was too depressed, right? So he would, I'd just be like, I'm just tired. Mommy wants to sleep in. Can you get the cereal? So here he is, 4 years old, getting cereal for his 3-year-old, 2-year-old brother, you know. And that's on me, right? So I've taken ownership. I've apologized for things that I feel like I should have done better, but it never feels like it's good enough. So again, I go to the cards and I say, like today, I'm not feeling like I've done enough. Where is the shame and what? Oh, something just flies out. So it says, listen to the little creature in your belly, which is right. And so in the book, I would go to the book. What number is that? 21. And the book says, what does your gut say? What is right for another may not be right for you. This is the time to test any advice or direction against your own experience. The little being that lives in your tummy will always tell you whether you are aimed in the right direction. It's essential when considering your options not to rely solely on the mental acumen of a pro-con list. Your mind only knows so much. And that's the other thing I was telling Carla about. I had to reconcile when I worked with these teenage boys because they would go home to that same fractured, broken family, and trying to build them up and have them not get into the prison system. Um, and I was told, you only know what you know, right? You can only do what you know, what how to change or what to do, right? And so there, I mean, that's just reflecting that I only know what I knew. I only knew what I knew back then. I only knew that that I was depressed, um, and I couldn't get out of bed, and and selfish. I only knew how to be selfish, I would say back then. Um, but I didn't know any better until I knew better. And so that's kind of what the shame part of this comes in. So then so that kind of gives me my message. And then I take, which I got this on an impulse and I never thought I would use, but it works. These two decks for me work together. And then I usually do a 3-card spread, a 3-card draw, or just kind of see what comes out. So, what do I need to know about? Let's see. So I would take that and I would say, what do I need to know about only knowing what I can know, about not, about releasing those gut feelings of shame. So, and then I just draw. And so I got 2 of Swords, Queen of Swords, and 9 of Coins. And so then I would just read these, sit on them, meditate them, think about them, maybe leave them on my altar. And in conclusion, work those together.
You
So
know,
yeah.
I think that that is really I joke with my sister about I don't think I really became sentient until I was in my 40s. Honestly, like aware of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And and because of that, like yourself, I that's like a common feeling is shame and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us that, was trying to parent with, again, like what you said, with doing the best we could with what we knew, um, it doesn't change the fact that we're carrying that shame later on, but that is ours that we're carrying. So,
Mm-hmm.
like Debbie said, I forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of where you have to start, but you can't just tell yourself that.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to do it. And the only way to do that is to address the root of the problem. It means going back to that dark place and understanding your own motivations, true shadow work, I think, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of brings us to where we are now. It's healing that ancestral or generational trauma. I remember my ex husband always saying when we were still married, well, that's what my dad did with us, or that's what my mom did. And I remember thinking those things myself. And so it is unlearning everything that we think we know, because we really don't know nothing until we start to learn something.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
love that you're guiding us through something, on like we can just start off with a day, especially if we're just feeling a certain way. Because I mean, depression is a real thing. And I think it's even it can be considered a chemical imbalance. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, shadow work isn't going to help them. They need something to
Mm-hmm.
actually help them get, you know so even tarot is wonderful, but it's, if you can get into something, if you know you are depressed, start your day with, again, the
Mm-hmm.
oracle, like you said, and maybe go
Mm-hmm.
on from there, because
Mm-hmm.
there's really no right or wrong way.
No, no. And definitely, I think I am pro mental health medications. I've seen a lot of folks, sometimes I'll be in a live stream and people will be like, you know, saying that that's kind of not like mumbo jumbo, like the medication is all in your head, you don't need it. And I'm like, don't, please don't say that because I know that I need my medication. Because I know without my
Yes.
medication, I was not able to move away the darkness, right?
Yes.
So, and that it wasn't until I got medicated properly that I was able to start healing and therefore starting that process. Um, but I just sometimes we all have an opinion, and that's awesome, but sometimes I worry that the things that we absorb through social media and things like that,
Hmm.
aren't for the best, so.
Social media, I think, even my own opinion is this: is that if you are um, battling with some type of a disorder that where if you want to classify depression or maybe you're extremely neurodivergent, know yourself enough to know what you can handle, because social
Hmm.
media is very divided. It's like you're either on this side or you're on this side. It's hard to stand up above and be objective if you're standing on one side or the other. And so, I mean, I've even heard that statement that standing in the middle or neutral ground is still taking a side, but I just can't get behind that. And again, yeah, that's my opinion also, but
Sure.
I think that social media is a breeding ground for feeding into that mental illness. And I do believe that America has a problem with that. When I see things on TV where somebody has or the news or whatever, that there's been a homicide, and people want to blame those, whatever it is they use. Granted, I'm sure access could be something that
Hmm.
could be, but I still think that there's an epidemic here in
Yeah.
America, and I think that social media plays right into it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I just that's what I worry about with this ancestral generational trauma is I worry that, we're at the tail end of society with it, right? Because we're just going to exhaust ourselves out where everybody has so much trauma. You just, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's my conspiracy anyway. you know. Hi.
Hey,
We're gonna not heal ourselves to the point to where we're just um do you remember that anybody ever watched that the TV show Firefly? We're gonna become like the Reavers, we're just gonna um they were it's an old Joss Whedon TV show, and I loved it, and it was kind of a galactic space alien kind of thing. Well, they weren't
well, I'm
really alien.
surprised because I love all that.
Oh,
I
you
don't
would like
remember it, but
Firefly. It was kind of like a cowboy, kind of like space cowboy kind of thing. And essentially, the plot is, people ruined Earth, found other planets, and in the process, went and created these humans that would eat flesh and just rip themselves apart and just
ooh,
ruin themselves.
I'm gonna have to
And
watch it.
um, because society did that to them, right? Trying to create the perfect society, and certain people have control. You've got to check it out. You would really like it. I can't remember what it streams on, but it streams on something.
Yes,
Oh, I agree,
yes.
Amber.
I think we'll be talking about it's a little bit controversial soon with the sisterhood, talk about something called uh, hypothetically, are some people NPC players?
Mm,
And I
I
think
know
it's
that's above my pay grade.
maybe, you know,
I'll definitely have to tune into that because that's gonna make me wonder. That's why I couldn't watch The Matrix. I tell you what, The Matrix. I couldn't after the first one. I was like mind blown. I'm like I can see that being reality. So.
I mean, I have met people that I think, wow, I'm just wondering. I don't know. It's obviously trying to take my own opinions out of it. There are times that we see things, and usually it's on social media, that you think, "Oh, where does that come from?" You know what I mean? Because you try to relate, and there's just some people that you think, like you said, kind of are really on, or maybe I saw it in the chat, on autopilot, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that could even be a coping, a way to cope. It could be. But I think once, like I said, in my 40s, when I finally became sentient, you know, I finally started to take a look at, okay, if there's a common denominator in whatever you're going through, it's time to start looking at your own self.
Right.
And you can either take yourself out of a repetitive, equation, or you can try a different way to solve it so you don't have to keep coming back to
Yeah.
the same problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
we've got quite a few people in here, so thank you. Thank you so
Hi,
much. It's so good to see everybody. Well, why don't we pull some tarot? I mean, maybe we could start with an oracle card and just
yeah.
see if
Okay.
there's, just see if there's something we want to take a look at. I will take the opportunity. I'm not ready to make this available yet because I'm almost finished with the guidebook. But this is what my tarot is called. My oracle. It is called Echoes of the Inner Child. And I'm just going to pull something from here because this deck, I created it as kind of like in reference to, if anyone has heard of the ACE study. It's
Mm-hmm.
adverse childhood experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And they have found that, hi, thank
Hi,
you.
Courtney.
Um, that adverse childhood experiences, if you don't find that healing, or if you don't, again, just healing and acknowledgement, that later on there has been major links to, one, mental illness, two, early deaths. We're talking addiction, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking, domestic violence, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But early death is one of the biggest causes that they got into understanding how it is these childhood events that are considered, adverse, can affect us as an adult, our actual physical health. And they're like, okay, this is worth the research. And of course, I think of Carl Jung. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what he's been saying all along. Granted, it's not just the physical, it's very much our mental state of being.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm gonna pull, but my deck is very much uh about those childhood adverse events.
And I just had a thought. 4 decks that I would recommend to start out with. I mean, tarot to me um, is kind of all the same. It's just different pictures, kind of thing. But as far as themes, they're all mass market. If you could get your hands on one, these really have made a difference. One is the Lantern Oracle. Um, like I said, this one before, the Wisdom of the Wild Things. Um, yes, I can relate to that. Yes, a narcissist mother. Mine is the kind that has to one up your trauma. Never good enough. Um, and it was like, why even try? I'm never going to be good enough. So, you know, and I was always told, just do it the right way. Well, my way can be the right way, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, these are the cards of the lantern. And this is kind of set up in different stages of maiden, mother, crone kind of thing.
Oh,
Um,
love it.
so that's the lantern. The other one that I would recommend, and again, like I said, these are all mass market, is the Lost Oracle. So there's this one. It's real simple. This pairs well with a lot of tarot, especially a busy tarot. And then the last one I recommend, this one is fairly new, just recently came out, is the Cries of the Souls.
Oh.
So this one is kind of nice because it pulls out so it has things like prophetic past.
Oh.
I ground myself in the here and now. Toxic relationships. I create positive relationship foundations with myself and other people. So I have this one really has made a difference also in when I'm doing the trying to dig deep and find outside of myself. And that's the hardest part when you're doing it for yourself versus like if a therapist were to do this with you is
Right.
what is figuring out what you really need to work on that isn't you putting it on like your superficial self, like to dig deep and get your subconscious to come forward and say this is what, or even the higher universe. I also many times I'm like, please universe, just tell me what the core is.
Hi,
Hi
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. So anyway, those I just wanted to bring up those four are excellent to me, starter ones for if you're looking to do something like this.
I think that's an excellent recommendation. I got this one not too long ago, and I'll tell you, Healing the Inner Child, and I got it from Hay House, and oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. Hi, Carolina. Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes. So I pulled the anxiety spiral, and this one is pretty much, I see my oldest daughter all, it's like once she is in that zone, she can't come down. You know what I mean? It's really, really hard for her to come down from the whole anxiety. I don't know. It takes a lot to get her out of that, out of her head. And, you know, and I've asked her plenty of times, what's, and you can tell some people disassociate when they're in that. Um, but I have a write up on this and I will read it to you. So anxiety often comes from hypervigilance, always scanning for danger as a child. The spiral continues in adulthood through racing thoughts. It's that overthinking, overanalyzing everything. Um, or the keywords are worry, hypervigilance, racing mind, hyper alertness, uh, and overthinking in adulthood. So it's like as children, when we are, depending on what it is we are subjected to, you know, um, I think that it contributes to when we're in a moment that is similar. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be uh exactly the same, but that feeling will come up. Like I witnessed something when I was a child of my mom being abused, and now whenever I hear a raised voice, even though it could be someone in excitement, or it could be, I automatically, boom, I'm back. You know what I mean? So something really loud when there, or just somebody reacting, I'm just like all of a sudden on alert. And I think that happens a lot because the trauma itself, it is like it's in our body, and subconsciously we go back there and we don't even realize that we're there.
Right.
But our body sure does. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fact that I drew that for myself, hmm, you
Yeah.
know,
I'm going to pull something from the Lantern Oracle for the collective. If this resonates for you, that's perfect. If it doesn't, just let it be. So I picked Renewal, or I didn't pick, the universe picked Renewal. Regeneration begins with decay. So just right off the bat, intuitively, I think that's the thing is decay can be so many things. It could be addiction. It can be. I lost the book. Hold on. I've got a mess. But anyway, so I think just intuitively, right off the bat, this is telling us, that a lot of us in here do need renewal. We need to get, here it is. We need to get that decay out of there. Like a rotten tooth needs to be pulled sometimes.
Yeah.
27. Let me read it. So this is kind of how the guidebook is laid out. When the foundation of our life cracks or the identity we understand ourselves through collapses, it can take some time to clear out the wreckage, which I automatically, that's what I feel like I'm doing with my oldest son, trying to clear out that wreckage that I created by parentifying him and amongst other traumas. It can take even longer to build a new vision and begin constructing our life's new direction going forward from it. Internally, we must first undergo a radical shift in thinking and feeling. It is so radical that once it is fully processed, it has the power to reconfigure who we are in ways that enhance and restore our vitality. Renewal takes the time it takes. Nature will not be rushed. However, your spirit self will eventually awaken and shine through you. The featured guardian, which is a Native American, the featured guardian has shown up to remind you that renewal opens you further into all that you are. It is time to surrender something of who you believe you are to experience how much more of you there is to be explored and enjoyed. Long term, it is more about arduous and painful. It is much more arduous and painful to remain stuck and limited because you have refused to fully shed and leave behind the dead skin of your past. The challenging process of regeneration is all about expanding into your new beginning. Embrace the next chapter of your life and let it be the best one so far. And the Guardian's message is renewal reconciles every ending to its new beginning. So I think that's kind of fitting that I drew that for what we're talking about, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. My daughter has that also, my youngest.
Now, what
She
is that?
can't, where you can't visually imagine it, you can't see it in your mind's eye.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah, definitely. Wow. Um, and I find myself saying that to her all the time. Just imagine, and she'll go,
I wish I could, right?
but yeah, it's very interesting. So I have a question for you then. I hear this a lot, and I don't really have an opinion. Um, because there's things that I'm open to having my mind changed. You know what I mean? So I might have a slight opinion, but it can change. I'm like that
It's
pretty much with
it's
everything.
malleable. It's very
Yeah.
malleable. Yeah.
So it's like I'm very new to the term shadow work. That didn't come about in my line of vision until actually learning tarot. And then I realized that shadow work is so much deeper than tarot, but tarot is great guidance. Okay, so my question really is, a lot of people are, I hear them say, I've done enough shadow work. I just can't do it right now.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
I've definitely been there. I feel like that. I feel two ways. One, it's fear. So typically I feel like um, you're done doing shadow work because you were almost to an epiphany. You're almost to a real breakthrough of change, and that is scary. Change is scary. It's much easier to stay in the shadow where you're at, not becoming more knowledgeable, not growing and becoming more of a light. I think, people want to say, oh, I want to be light, I want to be light. But sometimes it's just easier to stay in the dark. It's easier. I've always said I'm a big fan of what I don't know doesn't hurt me, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I feel that way about other people. So if other people say something about me or feel that way, but for myself and for my family, when it's people that are important to me, that's not okay. You know, Gossip about my ex-husband, I don't need to know about that. Okay, that doesn't serve me. But um, but the thing is, something about my child that you feel that way about, well, that's going to be a problem, and we're gonna duke that out. That ignorance is not okay, so I think that's one thing, is the fear, is when we say we're done, it's because we're just scared, and that's okay. That's okay. Life is
I
scary.
love that you
Life is
said that.
scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, um the perfection is like, if when we get burnt out on it, because we've worked on it, we've worked on it. I think I take long breaks. I go ebb and flow with what I work on. Sometimes, I had that time a couple months ago where I was working with shame, and I really, made some breakthroughs there. Um, right now I'm working on, you know, um, I just couldn't do any more shadow work. And it wasn't fear, it was just burnout. And if you're always in the negative, and that's the thing, is shadow work is a lot of negative feelings, can be.
Can be.
Can be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always. I mean, because
Right.
I find that it's negative in the beginning, but then once I make that breakthrough,
Oh my
it's like
gosh.
a God
Yes.
moment, right? It's like,
That's it.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but but breaking through that, it's like rebirthing, right? Childbirth is very painful. Whether you've done it C-section, whether you've done it natural, whatever, it's painful. And it's that fear of, I remember with my first child, I was like, I'm not giving birth. I'm just not gonna do it. I don't, because I didn't know. I was like,
Gosh.
I'm like, he is living there. It didn't help that he
Today's. Yeah. Yeah.
didn't help he was 2 weeks overdue either. I just figured he was never coming out anyway. But when I realized he had to come out, I was like, no, no, he doesn't need to come out, because I don't need to experience that. And it's that fear. But we have to have it. We have to give birth to something new, something greater, a chance to really be who we're supposed to be. And I feel like in this life, you are a good person if you just want to be one step better than you were yesterday. And you may not make it there. It may be one step high for closer you get, and you take two back. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you're human. And that brought up another thing, which I might be getting off of topic of what your question you asked me, but I always tell my parents when I'm working with, in the field that I work in, with these parents that have had their kids taken away, that's pretty.
Oh,
It really is the lowest of the low. I mean, like, you're at rock bottom. If you don't feel like you're at rock bottom when your children get taken away, that's a problem to me. So I would much rather go into a meeting where the mother may be high as a kite, but she wants her kids back and she's willing to fight for it and whatever she needs to do. Um, people, I feel like people that are worrying. So my point is, people that are worrying about being a good parent, you already are a good parent. And
yes. Thank you.
yeah,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
just the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you want to be is all the difference. Because I know plenty of people that don't even think two shits about it.
Yep.
It's not on the radar. They're just like, okay, they're
Yep.
my kids. I love, yeah, yeah, sure, I love them. My
Yep.
aunt told my cousin when he was little, I don't have to like you, I just have to love you. How traumatic is that? From your own
Yeah.
mother,
Yeah.
you know?
Tony's asking us a question. What ancestral traumas have you both found need a bit more work or repeats itself? I can pretty much answer that for myself. It's mm, I still, in fact, my sister and I were talking about it this morning. It's like digging into what people pleasing is, because I come from a long line of very strong women, but because of things that happened to me as a child, which are, they didn't happen to me. I actually witnessed them, and it is the domestic violence. So
Mm-hmm.
I witnessed that, even though my mom tried to keep me from it, I still witnessed things. And so, even though my people pleasing isn't a generational thing, it was the domestic violence. And now I see it in my own children. I picked their dad. He was not abusive physically, but
Mm-hmm.
he was a product of domestic violence. And so he had addictions. He died early, so even though it's not specific, they all kind of piggyback off of each other. It depends on who you are. You know what I mean? It's like how you process that, how you deal with it. And it's going to be different for each one of us. So,
Yeah.
in a way, it's not specific to what it is, why I'm a people pleaser, but it's still that generational trauma.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I
And we're still
agree.
trying to break it.
Yeah. I agree. Definitely, I have people pleasing. But I can tell you, my youngest son, he's not a people pleaser. So I guess I think you kind of break that, when you do the little bit of better stuff. But I must say, for me, I feel like my biggest thing right now is trying to deal with discomfort. I
Oh,
feel like addiction um, is definitely the devil on my family's back. You trail it back, and it's all addiction, which usually is a lot of times coupled with domestic violence and things like that.
it is.
I did not grow up around domestic violence, and my ex husband was not that way with me, but he was definitely. He wasn't even verbally, but he was more of a narcissistic kind of incendiary kind of thing that he would do, um, which for a people pleaser was definitely yes, thank you. Um, but I realized about 3 weeks ago that I don't know how to sit in discomfort. If I feel discomfort, I'm gonna eat something because it makes
Oh my goodness.
food never rejected me. Um, I can't sleep, so I'll take an anxiety pill because I don't want to
Mm,
lay there and just sit stew in my own thoughts. Right?
yeah.
I don't want to self soothe. I think I never learned to self soothe. I just had an epiphany. Thank you guys, everybody who's here. I just realized that.
That's amazing because I mean, it's the best way is to just
Talk it out,
talk.
right? Mm-hmm.
Talk it out. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. That's freaking awesome. Thank you, Tony, for bringing up that question.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's what it's about. And because when we want to address ancestral trauma, it's not going to be specific and it's going to affect each one of us differently. But I do like what you said about addiction because I do think that codependency is what leads to that. Codependency comes from trauma. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that you're filling a void because you like you said, you don't know how to self-soothe. You're filling a void. And so you cling to whatever it is fills that void.
Yeah. And I definitely think my codependency lied to me, like caused me to lie to myself because I knew intuitively, and I know, I hid a lot of my intuitiveness, my divineness and stuff because I thought, first of all, you can't people please and intuitively say, look, you're an asshole. And I know you're an asshole just by the energy you give off because I need to please you. So you kind of shut those thoughts down. And then I think the other thing was with codependency, you lie to yourself, right? You're constantly lying to yourself. And then you're harming the number one person that you're so that funnels down, right? So you're lying to yourself. Then by default, you're lying to your kids. I lied to my kids, in hindsight because, I thought they needed a two-parent home. Um, I wanted them to have that picket fence. I came from a two-parent home. I was highly neglected, but I didn't realize that was I didn't see it that way, right? Came from a two-parent home. That was a value that was instilled in me to have, and I wanted that for my kids, but it was a detriment. It was horrible. I mean, when you get to the point, I was married 15 years with him, and he said he never loved me. He kept having kids with me and said he never loved me, and I've had to heal from that. So, how do you pass that on to your kids, knowing that, you know?
We talked about this earlier. From a child's point of view, I mean, the adult can explain things and they can say all sorts of things when you're going through something that's traumatic. Um, we find ourselves in certain situations that it doesn't mean that we brought it on. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Nothing that happens to us is because of anything that we did. You know what I mean? We can't carry blame for what someone else does to us. That's inevitably because of them. So, so I'm like, what I'm getting at is like, if we go through divorce, separation, or if your parents were like, again, my mom was trying to save me from that incident where she was beaten up, but I still witnessed it. Even though she
Mm-hmm.
tried to hide me, I still saw it. I still experienced it. So, I mean, she didn't do that to me, but I still had to process that as a 2-year old, right? So it was so traumatic for me that now, since it's ingrained here that somebody raises their voice, I still automatically go, my body responds. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I still have to find that safe place. And I get there, believe me, I get there really quickly now, where before it might have taken a minute. So when you're going through something like that, the parent, all they really can do to make it the best for you is to let you know that things aren't your fault. Um, and I love you, you know? So, and try to make the child feel as safe as possible. Now, as an adult, you're gonna, I think it's only natural to maybe ask yourself these questions, right? But you know how you love. And it's the only thing that you can gauge anything
Mm-hmm.
else on, is everything that you are capable of.
Right. I,
Nothing else can be gauged by what anyone else says or does. Only you.
that is 100% true. But if I could add,
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
um,
please.
Elf, sorry, I don't know your name, but when I was in therapy, a therapist, I really, my self confidence was very down, and obviously an issue, and I would second guess how people thought about me. Like I was always replaying scenarios in my head, making them a bigger deal, quote unquote, a bigger deal than maybe they were. So I strongly suggest, if you are questioning whether that was sincerity with your mom, was she sincere in other things that she did? Would it have been out of character for her to say I love you to somebody else and mean it? Um, and then, you know, did she demonstrate it? Because even it sounds like, like you said, you did not have a typical childhood, so you're gonna have to frame things outside of yourself. You're gonna have to look, which I know you have problems visualizing too, so I'm not sure. I, I don't know if I'm giving you the best, context for this, but just think back, take people, sometimes we have to take people at face value, right? So if they're this way with person A, and they're this way with person B, then they're probably going to be this way with you. I hope that helps a little bit. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, just ask a question. I can't see the chat, but just rephrase it. And that goes for anyone. I mean, that was the best advice I think I did get in therapy was, you know, is the is this just one thing that you are picking at because you want to self-sabotage yourself and you want to beat yourself up, or is this something? So
We have intuition. I think intuition is also something we feel in our body, right? I mean, and I will say, I think that, all opinions are valid, because, I mean,
mm-hmm.
who in the heck knows everything? I know I don't. I'm
Mm-mm.
learning. I'm learning. I learn from you. I learn
Mm-hmm.
from everybody in the chat every day. And I'm open to like
Mm-hmm.
changing my mind, because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where real growth is. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, and again, every opinion is gauged upon our own experiences, and we don't experience everyone else. We just experience ourselves. So I think that anything that we can think of is valid. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
how we process is completely, I mean, it is what it is in that aspect. So I think that it's all good advice. I'm
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
we got killer chat going on right now. I'm trying to get through it,
Oh.
but
Oh no. What was I gonna say? That's why I feel such a kindred spirit to you as a sister kind of feeling, Carla, even though I have no siblings, is because you remind me a lot of like I'm the same way. I'm like I have strong opinions, but I don't have to put my strong opinions on you. And I can be
Right.
open minded. And I mean, certain things are black and white to me, and they will always be black and white, right? But things that are more gray, let's have a conversation because maybe I am wrong. I'm open to being wrong, or I'm open to me teaching you my side. And that's what I appreciate. I just gotta give you a little Carla love.
Thank you. I like what Amber says here.
Missy.
Ancestral to me is learned behavior passed down.
Yep.
Monkey see, monkey do. And that is it. That's it. Like, again, my husband, who passed, would always say, kids are meant to be seen, not
Mm,
heard. And that used to infuriate me because, my mom, on the other hand, listen, would sit me down at 5 years old and tell me every problem. Why? I think because she knew I was a safe place and she was just venting. So for me, I was very much seen and I was extremely extroverted, didn't really care for it, but that was my learned behavior to be. It kind of led to people, it's led to all sorts of things. I don't blame anyone. I understand my own journey. And it is from those things. And so, but again, getting back to him saying that, and I thought, that is just so unfair. And I still stand by it because you were a child,
mm-hmm.
and when somebody tells you you're not important, that's a different type of generational trauma. And again, but he learned that, right? He learned
Mm-hmm.
that, or he never would have thought that, and it was acceptable to him.
Yeah.
And extremely sad, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let's see. Thank you for being willing to be so vulnerable. This is raw and deep and so helpful. We can all heal when we talk about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Um, I realized that things that I saw as a kid, for example, lack mentality, I passed it on to my kids, and that realization prompted me to make big changes.
Oh, good, Elizabeth.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
I think about the shit that I put my kids through, and what you said, Angela, about the parentification. When I'll see if I can get to that card, but when I created that card, um, that said a lot to me too because
Oh,
I did it to my kids,
that
not all of
image just
them.
really gets to me. Oh, you could have picked a better image for that.
Hmm. It's truth. It's like we don't realize it, but my mom did it to me. She made me watch not just my sister because we're really close in age, but everyone else is in the family too, and when you're a kid, I just remember thinking, what do I do if something happens? And my mom would go, oh, you'll be fine. I remember watching a baby when I was in 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
And I think back to that now. How did I do that? And here I am. I'm a child caregiver now, but there was
Right?
the longest time that I disassociated from it, including my own children, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
I'd go through the motions and do everything, but I wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
there participating.
Engaged. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think we've all been there, and it does help with healing. It's like it helps knowing that you're not alone. We're human, and
Yeah.
acknowledging our own humanity is like the beginning of healing.
Yeah. And I just also had this other thought. And I'm not saying this to like toot my own horn or to say that I'm better than anybody else because Lord knows I'm not. But I want to encourage folks. Sometimes this is hard if you're struggling with, well, okay, so I have children and I see myself doing this and I want to change it. One thing my mom and dad, or my dad in particular, which I had kind of a weird relationship with my dad because I didn't see him very often. He worked overnights and was kind of an authority figure, but he was never afraid to apologize to me and mean it, right? So if he may get angry at something, and I was a very sensitive child, I'd cry and get upset. He would come back and apologize, and I think apologies, they don't fix everything, but they can heal. And I don't care if
Yes.
it's if let's say you have a 2-year-old right now and you're watching this and you're like, oh wow, what I'm doing, how I've treated my 2-year-old, or just go up and hug them and say, I'm sorry, let's talk about your feelings. I mean, a 2-year old's a little hard, but I try to do that with my children now. I wish I would have done it with my oldest when he was 13. I wish I would have had this knowledge when he was 13, because to me that's a very pivotal age, or 11,
It
12,
is.
13,
Mm-hmm.
and been able to say, you know what, I I I acknowledge the trauma that I have, allowed to be passed down to you, and I apologize. I take that on. Um, it I, the person might not accept it, they might not, but you can heal yourself, which is in essence, I feel like if we heal ourselves, we still heal a piece of society, right? Even if you don't even have to heal your own children or family, or maybe you don't have children, because I don't think people necessarily have to have children. I
Right.
don't think that that's like some mark of like, oh,
Exactly.
you've made it to, you can go to heaven now because you had children. I'm not a big fan of that either, but just treating humans better. And to me, that's the point. We just happen to be talking about generational ancestry, but that your found family can be your
Absolutely.
ancestral history too. So,
One of the things that I have repetitively said when working through things with my daughters, because that's what we do now, is we talk. And I
mm-hmm,
tell them I'm open to anything. And when they say something about something that made them feel a certain way, my biggest thing is I am so sorry that I let you down. Because
mm-hmm,
that's what you are to them. They look up to you. You're their guide. And then when you they don't may not realize it then, because they're like, I that's my mom. I
right,
you're supposed to love your parents, right? But
right,
your parents can let you down. They may not mean to. And that's the whole thing. But what you
yeah,
just said is crucial, just by taking that accountability, and let's talk about it, because
yeah,
I love you and I never wanted to let you down.
yeah.
With anyone.
And I find, your my people pleasing child is like, I don't blame you, and I'm like, it's not about blame. It's not about blame. I don't you
Right.
that it's not even the equation. It, it's about facts. This happened. This is your reality. This is, it might not have been somebody else's reality, in the family, but this was your reality, and I'm gonna absorb back my part in it, so you can heal. So,
Speaking of, exactly. And Tony, I think that I hear a lot of the generation today that are of the childbearing age are like, no, no, I'm just not going to do it, for
mm-hmm,
many reasons. In a way, that's another way of being responsible. No matter what, there's no right or wrong way. Whatever works for you is the right way.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I think that
uh-huh,
being responsible for, it's like knowing yourself, knowing what boundaries you need, knowing what works for you. That's just as important as the person that says, I want to have this, and then they go get it. There's
mm-hmm,
no, to me, it all comes back to being extremely self-aware and
mm-hmm.
authentic and who you are. Absolutely. Yeah. Believe me, I think about times like, man, why didn't I? But then I'm like so grateful for my kids. You know what I mean? But I'm thinking, why didn't I go into the army? I could have went into the army. It's one of them things. I really really wanted to be a spy or work for the FBI. You know what I'm saying? But you know
uh-huh,
what? Now I'm like, oh, I love, and especially when when my first grandchild was born, I was just like, oh, now I know why I'm here. So it's like all
right,
that other stuff just doesn't matter.
right. And I'm over here like, Tony, I don't want any grandkids because society is bad enough. I don't want to pass down. So I'm in no hurry for grandkids. I gotta, so I don't know.
Yes, I get it. And suddenly you start the phrases you swore you'd never say. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, big one right
Yes.
there. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, I was in charge of my sister. She was a
Oh,
newborn and I was
yeah.
10. Yeah. Yeah. And Elizabeth, when I hear you talk, mm, yeah, there's a lot of wisdom behind them words when you're explaining tarot, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, extremely makes sense. So, parenthood comes with so many expectations. No one is prepared for raising a child. That in itself is an act of shadow work, integration, and healing. There are sun and reflect our inner child. Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
gosh,
deep.
that is,
I love it.
yes. I thought, I was almost 23 when I found out I was pregnant for my first daughter, and I was really, really scared. And I thought, there's just no way. Like you, I was like, nope, not happening, but it happened.
Right? It's
So
funny. You and I
yeah.
have a lot of coincidences through our lives because I had my first child. I was 23, almost 24. So
And I have three altogether, but my last one, or well, she was extremely unexpected, you know.
so was my last one, and I had three boys. Did you have three girls?
Yes. Hmm.
That's too funny.
Yep.
Problems. Yeah, I mean, and it can be as simple as recognize. I mean, right there, you're starting it,
Yep.
right? You're definitely starting it because you're recognizing where that trauma came from, right? Where and you're
Absolutely.
breaking that cycle. You're making a conscious choice to break that cycle. But don't be too tough on yourself because some cycles are very hard. We do them without realizing it. So just just break the cycles that you can very much break right away easily, but don't beat yourself up if you find 10 years down the road that you're like, oh crap, this cycle came through. It's never too late to change something.
You know, Amber, this what you said makes me want to cry because back when I wasn't sentient, I joke, but I feel like, good gosh, I was an NPC player for forever. I did all the right things, said all the right things, you know what I mean? Thought I could have everything, and then I realized how much I was working too much. I was also a musician. I wanted to do everything. So I really was thinking I'm doing all this because I'm trying to show my kids they can have anything that they want. What they weren't getting was me.
Mm-hmm.
So, now understanding like becoming a child care provider, I think really um was motivated by, my daughter getting pregnant with my first grandchild. And that is so true because I wasn't thinking about the things that I am now then,
Right.
when my babies were too young. And granted, now I'm working through it and I'm trying to help them work through it. That is so much truth right there because it's what motivated me to, get into childcare. It's what motivates me to not shut up about it. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's all the time. My kids are like, "Oh, here she goes about shadow work again and that darn ACE study." But it's true. You know, it's so true. It's just funny.
Now, where can is there free things to do the ACE study on? I've never done the ACE test or whatever it is.
I
I've
think,
heard of
yes,
it.
I used to have a link saved and I don't know if I have it anymore, but yeah, you take a test and then however high your score is will kind of let what kind of work do you need or what might you be susceptible to. But just look up ACE.
CE. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, separated
Yeah.
by commas, and it's the study's been going on, I think, since the late 1900s, but it didn't get like major recognition until like 2013,
Yeah. Yeah.
2016 in there.
I've been in trainings where they talked about it, but I've never taken the you looked it up personally for myself to kind of see where I am on it. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think that you would probably, because there's a lot of stuff, that we might think now because it felt kind of normal, and like we've even said it, oh, we're from the generation that said, hey, it's light out, go play. Oh, it's getting dark, hey, time to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. We kept ourselves occupied. We didn't have, I mean, might have had what, Frogger,
Yeah.
to put, or something like
Pitfall.
that video game.
Pitfall.
Yeah, yeah, Pac-Man that we would go
Mm-hmm.
play at the pizza place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
We just did, and we got into trouble, and parents never really knew unless another parent told on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There could be things from that we might have thought were normal, but again, it's emotional neglect, it's physical neglect, and we look at it as that we figured out how to get through it. So we're tough. Are we?
Right, right,
What
right,
are your triggers?
right.
That for me honestly is what, when I know I need shadow work, is why am I upset about this? Why
Yeah,
why is this something I keep coming back to? Why does this bother me so much?
right.
I need to dig a little bit deeper. That's a perfect time really to get the tarot out, because
Mm-hmm.
especially if you allow your subconscious or your higher self to to guide you
Right.
get some really good answers through the tarot, digging
Mm-hmm.
in that way. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I know I've probably missed quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we are over the hour, and I just want to say I think that this has been an excellent conversation. Um, and I hope that we keep up these conversations,
Mm-hmm.
even if it is with our inner circle or kids. I love talking with the kids, and what you said about the whole comfortable thing. I find myself very uncomfortable a lot when we're talking about stuff, because I tell my kids, just say it, just say it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had my moments where I did a little bit of too much of this, and babysitter leaves, I'm home, and doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden still not inebriated from
Right.
you know and let me tell you, they're right there to say, well, you did this, mom, and you what? No.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
All right, let's talk about it.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. It's I could still smell it. Yeah. Yes, yes. So anyway, yes, thank you so much. And Angela, thank you so much. And
Thank you for having me on.
if you've not checked out Angela's channel, she also does readings where you pick a pile. What's the name of that one?
Just Crone Energy readings.
I'll actually make sure that both links are in the description. And again, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. You want to add anything, Angela?
I just really appreciate you letting me come on here, Carla, and having us talk. I just love being part of a community that that we're not shaming each other. You know that
Oh,
we meet each other where we're at, right? And we love each
yes.
other anyway. So I appreciate it.
We love each other because.
Yep.
Well,
So thanks everyone for coming.
yes. Thank you. All right. I love you, and I will see you all in the next one.
Love you guys. Bye.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay.